Welcome back to Let's Play Eden Visual Novel. So let's continue where we left off. A mild gust kicked up and we decided to go back home. This region was warm year-round, but cold winds did blow on occasion. While there's a nice view in the background. These winds had surely come from some distant cold world.
知ってる？りょう。
Shion had been silently trotting along, then suddenly opened her mouth.
何を？
昔この国には4つの季節があったの。
You don't say.
かすかに聞いた記憶はあるな。
What are the four seasons? I seem to recall one of my parents saying something like that once upon a time.
春、夏、秋、冬の4つ。春にはお花見、夏には花火、秋には紅葉、冬には雪。それぞれの季節に綺麗なものがあったって。
I mean, there's 12 months divided by 4. It is like one season in 3 months. Ain't that amazing? I mean, my favorite season so far would be summertime. I would say spring, but spring is the only season that gives me allergies, and allergies is my living hell right now. My goodness.
私の生みの親、真行寺博士に昔聞いたの。この国は季節ごとに色を変えるとても美しい国だったって。
Dr. Shinyoji. I don't know how you pronounce it, but okay.
俺もいろんな国の人間と会ったけどな。みんな自分の国が一番美しいって言っていた。
I'll say.
りょうはどうなの？
どうだろ
I looked out over the mountains dripping with greenery and groves of trees rustling in the wind. This place would never change. Everything was just as it was when I was a child.
う。嫌いではないんだろうな。もし嫌いだったらここには来なかった。
素直じゃない。
Shion giggled.
今さら言うことでもない。
そうだね。でも一度でいいから見ておきたかったな。季節とともに変わっていく景色を見てみたかったな。
There was probably a region somewhere which still experienced all 4 seasons. But even if there was, taking her there wouldn't be without its own perils.
あ、本気にしないで。私はこの場所を気に入ってるの。だからここでいいの。ここがいいの。
そりゃ助かった。
Beginning to semi-seriously worry about it was apparently foolish. Actually, I guess taking that seriously made me the fool.
ないものねだりなんてしない。消えてなくなってしまったものだからこそ見たい、感じたいという気持ちになるのかもしれない。失われたものへの憧れは人なら誰もが抱く感情だもの。
今じゃ季節も国も消えて変わり映えのしない気候と境界のない混沌があるばかりだ。
Especially when the world is about to end.
星が終わりに向かって走り始めてから何もかもが変わってしまったの。
She whispered sadly, shook her long hair, and started walking a little faster than before.
何もかもが変わって終わりが近づいて、この星はどうしてこうなったのかな。
Makes me wonder. It's a sad moment.
そんなことは君が一番よく知ってるんじゃないのか。
We had the Earth evacuation project because the end of the world was upon us, and she was once in charge of it.
わからない。
Shion shook her head.
わからない。
終わりは誰にも止められない。なぜ止められないかわかる？
I wonder.
答えは簡単なの。
She presented the question and answered all on her own.
なぜ終わるのか結局わからなかったから。だから私たちはわからない問題は放っておくことにして別の問題に取り組むことにした。今住んでいるこの星を救うより次の星を探す方が簡単だったの。そういうことなの。
それで生き残れるのならその選択は間違いじゃない。
正しい答えと言い切ることもできないけど。
君は天才であっても全知全能じゃない。だから確実な正しさなんて求めたって意味がないだろう。なんだ。
She stopped and stared at me with those big eyes of hers. It was the sort of face one might make when looking at something in awe.
いえ、別に。ただ、なんとなく自分がやったことが正しいことだったような、そんな気がした。
正しいと言い切れないんじゃなかったのか。
なぜかな。急にそう思っただけ。気にしないで。
Okay. That said, Shion started to walk once more. Her stride seemed somehow lighter now. Oh geez. I heard a bang and lifted my face from the book I was reading. Oh boy. We had finished dinner and taken baths, and were now spending a leisurely and quiet night together. Shion, who should have been sitting across from me and reading a book like I was, had her face planted into the table again. I didn't even have to guess what had happened. Is it the time now for bedtime? As usual, she had fallen asleep, like her batteries had just died. How could she stay asleep after smacking her head so hard? Doesn't feel like a good sign to me.
まったく。
I set down my book, stood from my seat, and made my way over to Shion. Once she fell asleep, she wouldn't wake up until morning. All attempts to wake her were futile. I took the book still gripped in her hands, pulled out her chair, and gathered Shion into my arms. I lifted her almost weightless body with ease.
本当に軽いな。
I whispered curtly and looked down at Shion's face. This wasn't the first time I had carried her. It was just a little, ever so little at a time. Shion seemed to be losing weight. Maybe it would be best for me to start measuring her weight during her daily health checks. We didn't have a scale, but I could probably find one if I scrunched through the vacant homes in the area. If she were an ordinary girl, she would probably hate telling a man her weight. But this was Shion we were talking about. She likely wouldn't object. She lacked those sensibilities. She let out a tiny sigh. Her sweet voice, soft hair, slender body. She was the image of a girl from head to toe, and yet the fact she was not an ordinary girl was a bit depressing. Shion slept with such an angelic face. Her face was a little red, likely because she hid it earlier. It wasn't swelling all that much, but I'd better put some ice on it later just to be sure, since that was the most I could do for her. Next morning. Shion suggested after waking up unusually early.
料理って朝飯を作るつもりか？
Breakfast. Let's see how this one will go.
朝から昼食を作るわけない。
Doesn't lunch usually go around 11 a.m.? I don't know. True enough. But of course, that wasn't the issue at hand.
気持ちはありがたいが、大丈夫なのか？
亮が隣で見ててくれれば平気。
もちろん、言われなくても見ておくが。
But some things were just outside of one's scope of abilities. This house was made of wood, so I couldn't dismiss the possibility that it could go up in flames at the slightest spark. It might be wise to prepare a fire extinguisher just in case. Shion looked around restlessly without paying my speculation any mind.
何から始めるんだ？
包丁ってどっちの手で持てばいいの？
とりあえず道具を使わないでいい作業から始めるか。
It would probably be dangerous to let her use cutlery, considering I had nothing prepared to stop bleeding.
わかった。
You might hurt yourself, though. Shion grumbled in disappointment and hung her head. It was a bit pathetic of me to chip away at the enthusiasm she had finally mustered.
目玉焼きでも作ってみるか？
作る。
She lifted her head and answered with surprising speed. Fried eggs, huh? I wouldn't really consider that cooking, but it was probably just about right for a beginner.
じゃあまずはフライパンを温めて。
フライパンなんてレンジに入らないけど。
Well...
いや、コンロを使ってくれ。
Yeah, like that. I mean, unless you're baking something with eggs, of course. As an ingredient. Oh well, I guess no matter how intelligent, you can't do something you don't know how to do. She did well to live to this day without knowing that. I guess it was to be expected, or maybe just a blatantly obvious outcome. The fried eggs she made were atrocious. A small number of our precious eggs were put to waste before she even made something resembling a fried egg.
量の教え方も良くなかった。
いや、シオンの不器用さが俺の予想を上回っていた。
Clumsiness. I kept quiet and watched because she said not to meddle too much, to promise to keep my hands off. She failed when she tried to show off and crack an egg with one hand. She failed when she burned one down to cinders. And finally, she failed when she dropped an egg she somehow cooked properly onto the floor and while transferring it from the pan to a plate. We were finally seated at the breakfast table where the last remaining egg somehow managed to not be reduced to charcoal.
私はその端っこの焦げた白身のところでいい。
Shion was lamenting over how hopeless she was. I ignored her sulking and cut the egg in two with my knife.
量？
いいから食おう。早く食って畑に行かないとな。
Shion smiled ever so slightly and picked up the fork and knife. Fork and knife. In addition to Shion's egg, our breakfast menu consisted of cherry tomatoes, biscuits with strawberry jam, and prepackaged stew. Must be tasty. I don't know. Not all people can be perfect. People can make mistakes at times. Naturally, I started my meal with the fried egg. Actually, I just caved in to the eyes fixated on me from across the table. It was a little burned, but regular enough for a fried egg.
どう？
ああ、うまい。
It's good.
私、お世辞は嫌い。
奇遇だな。俺も嫌いだ。
She said nothing and scowled at me, but eventually let out a sigh.
料理って、
She stuck her fork into her egg and opened her mouth.
料理って大変。私、ずっとテーブルにつけば勝手に出てくるものだと思ってたけど、思い知らされたような気がする。
Isn't there a phrase called practice makes perfect though?
人にはそれぞれ役割がある。君には料理より他にしなければならないことがあっただろ
う。でも、私の役割は以前とは違う。ただテーブルにつくだけなら、お人形にだってできるもの。私がここにいる理由を作りたいの。
慌てて作ることもない。少なくとも飯の用意は俺ができるんだからな。
I tossed my half of the yolk into my mouth.
シオンがここにいることを許さない理由もまたどこにもない。
りょう、
なんだ？
Shion tilted her head and looked at me skeptically.
りょうは私を甘やかそうとしてる。
Oh, please.
そうか？
That wasn't my intention. Some people just weren't cut out for certain things. Shion took a bite of the egg that was a bit too large in her mouth and let out a quiet yelp.
どうした？
What's happening here? She chewed the egg many times, gulped it down, and looked astonished. Then, in a rare act on her part, smiled sweetly.
おいしい。
Ah, so it did work. So the egg
No.
was delicious.
シオン、
Oh, we're at the fields again. So the egg was delicious for her after all. I loved fried eggs. But I usually get aware of the yolk sometimes because I had oh man, you wouldn't know how much I over abused the cholesterol level. I tend to tone it down at times. Ugh. But yeah.
なあ、シオン。
Alright, so we're at the fields. Alright, let's see how this one go.
何？
Shion stopped pulling clumps of weeds and looked up. The sunlight was so warm today that there were beads of sweat forming on her forehead.
こんなところにいて君は退屈じゃないのか？
うん、退屈。
She admitted it awfully easily.
でも、私、研究は嫌いじゃなかった。モニターに向かって ひたすらデータを見つめ、たった一つしかない答えを探し求める。
Really?
目的はたったの一つ。どこまでも遠くへ行けるエンジンを作ること。それだけだったけど、それだけの単純でわかりやすいところが面白かったの。
I figured the process of searching for an answer was extremely complex, but I bet even that was amusing for her.
ここにはコンピューターも数学も何もない。君が面白いと思うものなんてないよな。
ない。
She nodded firmly.
だけど、ここは毎日何かが違ってるの。
違ってる？
そうやってオウム返しに聞き返すのってバカみたいだからやめた方がいいと思う。亮も頭のいい人なのに。
Well,
旅してた時は判断力と集中力が抜群だと思ったけど、ここに来てからは思考速度が鈍ってるみたい。
oh geez, there's my computer making noise again.
そんな分析はしなくていい。
Dang, she just analyzed his whole entire moment. I mean, his moments. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I couldn't quite understand what she was saying.
研究所はどこもいつも同じだった。だけどここは違う。畑の作物は日々成長するし、風の匂いも土の感触も常に変わり続けてる。こういうのって、そう、楽しいって言うんだ。そう、退屈なんかじゃない。そうだ。さっきのは私の間違い。ところで、亮はどうなの？
Her curiosity-filled pupils turned upon me.
そうだな。退屈してる暇はない。いろいろと手がかかるからな。
大変そう。
I was sure she understood just who I had my hands full dealing with. She was quite a girl to be able to act like it had nothing to do with her, knowing full well that it did.
頑張って、亮。
言われるまでもないがな。と、そうだ。そろそろ。
I had something small to attend to, so tending to the fields would have to wait.
いつもの？
あ、ちょっと行ってくる。
今日は私もついていく。
別に面白いものじゃないぞ。
忘れないで、亮。いろんなものを見ておきたい。私はそのためにここにいるの。
いいけどな。
Easy enough. She wants to experience the whole entire outside world. Shion's job in the fields was basically finished too. Although it might be more accurate to say that her tasks were of so little importance that they could be left incomplete. Nevertheless, I put on a somber expression and nodded like I meant it. Alright. I'll end it here again for now. So, next part. Let's see. More of this will go. So, hope you guys enjoy this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one.